Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Author Talk with me, Gavin, and today I'm here with Jackson Dickert.
Nice to be here, Gavin. Thank you very much for inviting me on.
I think we should move on to you as an author. So, first off, I want to say this book reminds me of a slightly grown-up Diary of a Wimpy Kid adventure.
Yeah, I can see that. That's actually probably spot on. That's spot on.
All right. So, all of your chapter names start with Ranger is. Why did you choose that?
So I did that one because they're adventure rangers, which is like Boy Scouts, just another word for it. Except I didn't want to have to deal with all the different things that come about Boy Scouts.
Right.
But it's very clearly inspired from a lot of my experience in Boy Scouts, ridiculous things that I wished would have happened, all that sort of thing. So in Boy Scouts, they have the Scout Law, which is a scout is
Right.
trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. So I was like, well, it would be kind of fun if I just did a ranger is whatever for the chapter titles, because I do really like when authors have a little bit of fun with chapter titles, and that seemed like a cool way of doing it.
That's another thing. Where did you get your character ideas from? All of these guys are just hilarious, and or were they based off of real people like that you went to Boy Scouts camps with?
I would say they're kind of like a melting pot maybe of everybody. None of them are specifically based on a specific person, but I would say over the course of spending a week at summer camp and it's hot and you're hungry and you're dehydrated, at some point everybody loses their temper a little bit. Do-over does. At some point, everybody gets a little mischievous and wants to cause some trouble, like Uncle Ruckus does. So I wouldn't say that they were based on specific people. In fact, I would say they're a caricature of, I guess, a melting pot caricature, if that makes sense,
And
where
that's
it's like
perfect.
where they're all condensed into a specific archetype.
And this one's funny. Did you not think to make the cover a little bit less childish? This book holds some really adult content, but it
Looks kid friendly. I didn't design this cover. It was the cover designer at Campfire did. And we went back and forth and chatted about some of those things. And I guess even now, when I look at it, I guess it doesn't feel too cartoony to me, but what do I know, right? You're the one who's saying, hey, it looks a little like a little too child friendly. But that's definitely why we set the age range on there to be, I think, 13 and up. And that was mostly based on if you're 13 and you're living in the era of the internet, there's nothing in that book that will surprise you. And heck, if you're an 11-year-old who has to ride the bus after school, then I get everything that'll be in that book too.
oh,
So, and I think try to make it clear in the blurb that it gets a little on the edgier side, which hopefully comes across.
oh, this book often shocked me with how far you take it, but it was really hilarious. There would be times in class when I was just listening to the audiobook and I would just start laughing, and my friends would look at me like, "What happened?" And I was like, "This rule at camp with the showers," which shocked me a bit. And they're like, "Oh,
It's definitely an edgy humor. I always say it's very teenage boy, right?
yeah, definitely."
If you're a teenage boy, then it'll probably click with you. It's like South Park, uh, but
That's
for
exactly
teenage
what I
boys.
thought of. Like, it reminds me of the South Park, like, main.
Yeah, I see that with Ruckus having a Cartman to him for sure.
Yeah. Okay. That was your first book, correct?
My first finished book, yeah. Taking a stab at writing something before that, it was awful.
As they always are.
Yeah.
What are your plans for your future writing?
Yeah, so I wrapped up my next book, and at the moment I'm weirdly like sitting in it a little bit.
Okay.
It's a cover, it's edited, it's all done. All that's left is for me to set a release date and, all up and take the time to figure out some of the marketing stuff. And honestly, like life just been so crazy. Like it's to keep up with editing the between turns interviews and then like helping friends on the side and some extra work on the side. There's so much going on. So I was telling my wife today, I was like, I kind of me wants to just release it just tomorrow, just put it out there and then, just start writing the next thing. And then the in me is like, no, you need to do it right. So yeah. But besides that, I um two ideas that I'm really excited about for upcoming books. One of them is a kind of romance tower climber lit RPG.
Huh.
And the other one is a like fantasy, like focus on a very aquatic world. So all the monsters are fish and that sort of thing, just because I love fish.
Oh yeah. That's so cool. And how do you know when your story idea is worth pursuing?
When it's worth pursuing, that's ooh, I'll probably be the wrong person to ask about that because this that I just a bow on. I started writing it in February of 2020. And all I really had was an idea. I was like, what if a kid finds a magic coin and the coin like lets turn into basically what he wants. So he can just look like other people or like within could turn into like monster stuff. And like my was I was kept pantsing it. And so I kept going, I 30,000 words in and be like, oh no, this is what I need to do. And then I go back, 30,000 and start at the beginning trying to work through it with whatever this new angle and new idea I had was. I have probably rewritten this book like five.
Oh wow.
Agonizing, and that's why like I'm ready for it to be out. I'm so ready for it to be done because it wasn't something that like I sat down and I had like a good vision for or a really good plan for. But I'm stubborn. I'm so stubborn. So I was like, instead of just putting this to the side and then like pivoting something else, I was like, I'll finish it.
Right.
Um, how do you know when an idea is cooked, I guess, is if I can now, the way that I'm trying to do my next book is I sit down and I try to outline it. And I have trouble like doing full outline start to finish because I think a lot of times there's just gaps you don't realize are there and you need to sit and think on it for a little bit.
Right. See, what
Um,
I do is I'll write a series of notes and then just like think on those and then I'll put it all together.
yeah, I'll do a similar sort of thing where like I'll come up with ideas and just put them in, write them down in a notebook, whatever it is. But I'll try to put it into like bullet the events kind of logical order. And then if I can put the basic plot together where it's like this string of events happens that logically sequentially leads one thing to the next, and I have a good idea of or even if it's not a good idea, just a basic idea of who the characters are, then that's sort of when I'm like, okay, this probably has legs and is starting instead of just, my elevator pitch. Let me work on this for 5 years.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for coming and you being here.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, man. It was a ton of fun, and hopefully you in the book and
Oh,
got some good
definitely.
insights out of the author stuff.